Yesterday, the draws for the AFC Asian Cup, which are going to be held in January 2024, it was released yesterday. And there was a slight moment when Indian football fans probably went into despair because they were actually clubbed in a pretty difficult group. Now, in this video, I am going to tell you why the AFC Asian Cup is so important. Because it is one of the premier prestige tournaments that has been played now for close to 67 years at this point in time. 1956 onwards, you saw the AFC Asian Cup being played. And if you have to look at India's history in that glorious period, they actually reached the final once in 1964, where they lost to another very unlikely finalist in that match, Israel. When India lost to Israel in 1964, that was the only time when they had come to the final. Now, in this modern era, where does the AFC Asian Cup stand? Well, for one, whoever wins the AFC Asian Cup, they go into the broader FIFA Continental Cup that is held. Remember, the Continental Cup has not been held ever since 2017, either due to logistical issues, World Cup year, or maybe COVID at this point in time. When you look at the Euro, when you look at Copa, the AFC Asian Cup is a poorer cousin of this, but still there is a lot of prestige at stake here, because anybody who wins the AFC Asian Cup can at least call themselves the dominant power of Asia. Now, India are unfortunately, because of their ranking, they are not in a pretty easy group at this point. But remember, there are other tougher teams like South Korea, Japan, who have always consistently qualified for the World Cup. Here though, they are also going to be up against a country that just joined the AFC in 2007. Why did they switch zones? Well, the simple factor is they wanted competitiveness. That is the key reason. In this video, I am going to tell you the history of I have already told you the history of the Asian Cup. I will tell you what is the history of all the teams in which India is going to play in the AFC Asian Cup. So, the AFC Asian Cup draw was released yesterday, and if you look at it, Australia, Uzbekistan, Syria and India, this is the group in which India are in. Australia is a very tough proposition, so is Uzbekistan. Syria might be the only team that perhaps India can afford to take a bit lightly, because remember, India have had success in the past against a lot of foreign teams, be it Myanmar, be it all the other nations. Even once they tried to have a good show against Vietnam, but that didn't happen. Now, India against Australia, Uzbekistan, they really have an uphill struggle here, because if you look at Australia, they are one of the powerhouses along with South Korea and Japan. They have played in this tournament 4 times. They won in 2015 and they finished as the runners-up in 2011. They are actually the powerhouse of Asian football and their FIFA ranking is 27th. You will remember that in the 2022 FIFA World Cup, they had reached the round of 16 and it took something spectacular from Messi to ensure that Argentina would beat Australia and go into the next round. But Australia, remember, prior to 2007, they were actually playing in Oceania along with New Zealand, but they decided to switch zones because there was more competition there and Oceania did not offer any much competition in that sense. And always remember, Oceania gets the worst of the FIFA World Cup draws because they have to go into a 5th place playoff with CONMEBOL. So, Australia, rather, they said, okay, if you want that much of competition, we will switch to the Asian zone. And AFC, since then, Australia has been there 2015 and 2011. They have won in 2015, lost the final in 2011. India's massive task is going to be how to overcome Australia, who have consistently even qualified for the FIFA World Cup. The next that we look into is Uzbekistan. Now remember, Uzbekistan are one of the former Soviet satellites who have always done well in football and in the Asian zone as well. Because look at this, they have played in the AFC Asian Cup 8 times and their best finish was 4th. Consistently, they have qualified for the knockouts, and despite their FIFA ranking of 74, Uzbekistan is one of the nations that have always held their sway in Asia. Yes, they have lost out to traditional powerhouses in the West Asia, in the West Asian continent like Iraq. They have lost out to Saudi Arabia, Japan, South Korea in the East. but they have always held their own when it comes to the AFC Asian Cup. The consistency is there. India will have to play really inspired football to beat Uzbekistan. Now, the third team in that group, Syria. Currently, Syria is undergoing a lot of crisis when you look at the politics, when you look at the country as a general. And their football, unfortunately, is also deteriorated in the last couple of years. So, they have played in the tournament 6 times, but they never qualified out of the group stages. This is the one problem that you have, that Syria, when you talk about the group stages, they have never managed to do it. And so, that is why India and Syria, they might find themselves in a situation where they can at least play for a bit of bragging rights. Came close in 1980 and 1996, missed by 1 point. If you look at it, both those times they missed by 1 point. So, Syria can put up a fight, but when it comes to facing all the other traditional powerhouses like Uzbekistan and Australia, Syria might be a bit problematic in that sense. Their FIFA ranking is 90, but it has been a gradual, steady decline indeed. Now, what about India? Qualifying itself for the AFC Asian Cup was a big thing, because if you look at the entire 67-year history of the tournament, they have only qualified 5 times. But when they once reached in 1964, India versus Israel, at that time we all harbored hopes that perhaps India can actually do well. But unfortunately, they lost to Israel, and that's the reason why their best finished only a runners-up. Never qualified for the knockout since. They have done it after 1964, which is itself a very historic feat indeed. Their FIFA ranking, unfortunately, has gone out of the top 100. But remember, India in the past couple of seasons, they have managed to put up a fight against bigger clubs. Yes, India have not been able to do well on the grand stage. Yes, football has deteriorated. In the 50s and the 60s, at least they challenged in the Olympics, or even they tried to ensure that they had some good football in the world. But unfortunately now, India in the world stage have deteriorated. All eyes though will be on Sunil Chhetri, because he has been the talisman for Indian football for a very long time. AFC Asian Cup provides him the ultimate pinnacle to maybe announce that yes, it is the end of an era for him. But remember, if he can give India AFC Asian Cup glory, maybe take them to the knockout stages, it will be a grand achievement indeed, because India might currently be doing well in the ISL. The clubs are doing well in the ISL, in the I-League. Perhaps they can at least produce some talent. But if you look at Sunil Chhetri, the AFC Asian Cup is his ultimate goal. He wants to ensure that India at least reach the knockout stages in the AFC Asian Cup. Expectations might be low, but if they can produce that miracle of 1964, it will be a sight worth seeing. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this live. We'll be back with more updates on Sports Today. Tap that bell icon so you know when we go live, and don't forget we are on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram as well.